Hi there, and welcome to the third quarter review. Let's get started. First thing we have to do is put this in standard form. So I'm going to do some solving here. And I get -2 plus 3 times the sine of pulling the 2 out of here. I get 2 times the sine minus 2. Now let's answer some questions and get a grid started. And my vertical shift is this number here, so I'm going to go with 2 down. My horizontal shift is the number in here, opposite of that, so we're going 2 to the right. My amplitude is the number in front of the sine. We'll call that 3. And my period is, since it's a sine function, would normally be 2 pi divided by the number right there. So I'm going to put 2 pi divided by 2 gives me pi. And if this number right here is negative, it's reflective, but in this case it's no. So now let's see if we can go to the graph. If I have a shift right of 2, I know that my sine function is going to start at 2, and its period is pi, so a pi past 2, we'll call it 2 plus pi, is where it's going to end. Halfway between there is going to be 2 plus pi over 2, 2 plus pi over 4, and over here is 2 plus 3 pi over 4. And I'm not going to label that because they're going to get in the way, but they're there. You can label them in yours. I think my pen is a little bit wider than I would like. Let's see if we can change that. And let's see here. We have a vertical shift of 2 down, so I'm going to make my line here at 2 down. And if you recall from our graphing chapter, we would put a dotted line right across here at that. That's where we're going to put our zeros for our sine. Remember, our sine happens at 0, halfway through the period, and all the way through the period. Our amplitude is 3, so if we're at -2, we're going to go up 3. We would be at +1. And if we go down 3 from here, we're at -5. So our highest point is going to be up here. Our lowest point is going to be right there at 3 pi over 4. And so our graph is going to look like might be prettier on your paper. Let's do the next one. Same kind of thing here. And so let's take a look at this one now. First thing we have to do is we need to get it in standard form. So I'm going to write this as y equals 1 plus 2 secant. Pull out the 3 out of parentheses, and I get 3 times the quantity of x minus pi over 3. Our vertical shift is our shift up in this case, and we're going to go up 1. Our horizontal shift, remember it's the opposite of in here, so we're going to go with pi over 3 to the right. Our amplitude is the number in front of here. And our period is going to be, since it's a secant, which is the reciprocal of cosine, and the cosine's period is 2 pi, we're going to go with 2 pi, and we're going to divide it by 3 in this case. And we're not reflected, so we'll put no there. If we are pi over 3 to the right, I'm going to put a line right there. We'll call that pi over 3. That's how far we've moved to the right. If our period is 2 pi over 3, if we're starting there and we're going another 2 pi over 3 over, we end up at pi. Because pi over 3 plus 2 over pi, pi over 3 gives me pi. So halfway between there is going to be 2 pi over 3. Halfway between there is going to be 3 pi over 3 divided by 2 gives me pi over 2. Halfway between here, 2 pi over 3 plus 3 pi over 3 is 5 pi over 3 divided by 2 is 5 pi over 6. So there we have our interval. And if we have a vertical shift of up 1, let me put a dotted line there at 1. We know when we graph our cosine, that's our middle. And so our amplitude is up 2 from there. So we'll call that 3. Our down 2 from there is at -1. And we're going to have a cosine graph. Our cosine is going to start right there. It's going to go through right there. It's going to be at its bottom right there. It's going to go through again right there. And it's going to be at its top up there. We know that if we wanted to put some dotted lines, it's where their equal goes through the dotted line is our asymptote at pi over 2 and 5 pi over 6. And if we graphed our cosine graph, it would look like this. And hopefully you recall that the secant, let's grab a different color, is going to look like that. And look, oops, stays inside the asymptotes there and look like that. So the red stuff is the secant, the purple stuff is the cosine. Let's take a look at the tangent one. Our tangent graph, again, we have to put it in standard form. Let's go here and get it in standard form. I get y equals 1 minus 2 tangent. I'm going to pull out the pi over 3 out front, leaving me with x plus 1. Our vertical shift, or our up shift in this case, we're moving up 1. Our horizontal shift is left 1. Our amplitude is 2. Our period is, normally because it's a tangent, we would say pi, but it's pi divided by this number here, pi over 3, which if I simplify that down would give me 3. Take some time and do that. And if it's reflected, it'll be negative here, so it's going to be a negative graph. Yes. Now let's see if we can put some of these moving left 1. We know that normally our tangent goes through the 0, but we're going to move that left 1, so I'm going to put that as a -1. And we have a vertical shift of up 1, so I'm going to put a dotted line right here at my 1. And if my period is 3, that means from my 0 here, I'm going to go half of 3 each direction. So I'm going to go 1.5 this way, puts me at -2.5. And if I go 1.5 this way, puts me at +0.5. I know those are my asymptotes. Let's grab a dotted line and put an asymptote right there at -2.5 and an asymptote at +0.5. Because our middle is right here, we know that we're going to be going through there. We know halfway between here is going to be our amplitude. Well, actually, it's going to be right there on that dotted line. So amplitude, remember, it is flipped. So our tangent is going to be going down from left to right. Normally it goes up. It'll act like a cotangent, how it goes down. So if I go half of this distance over, that'll put me at -1.75. I don't really have room to write that. And if I go over half of this distance, that'll put me at -0.25. So I know that I'm going to be down to here and up to there. So let's go up from 1, 2. So we're going to have a dot up here, got a dot down here, and our graph is going to look like coming down, following the asymptote, hit our 3 points, and follow the asymptote further that way. There you are. Good luck. First page.